Hello everyone! Index is one of the largest and certainly the most popular independent news sites available in Hungary. Last week, Index editor-in-chief Szabolcs Dul was fired on Friday. More than 80 journalists within Index, including some of the leading editors, initiated proceedings for their resignation. One of them, András Földes, who has been working within Index as a journalist about 20 years, is my guest now to talk about the recent developments in Hungary related to Index and also about the freedom of the press in the country. Welcome, András.
Yeah, hello everyone.
Thank you so much sparing time and being here with me today. I know how hectic this past 2 weeks for you and for your colleagues. It hasn't been easy. So I would like to start by asking summary of what is going on with the index for the last 2 weeks. For those who haven't followed up closely the recent developments, what was the explanation you got from the board of the edit board when you asked for the editor-in-chief Szabolcs Dul's dismissal, and what was the reaction you got, and how did it bring including more than 80 journalists to a point of resignation?
Yes, well, we knew for a while that hard times are coming for Index when the main media guy of Viktor Orbán, Miklós Vasily, was placed to a company that sells our advertisements. So really closely tied to our company that makes the content of Index. Uh, but uh, but for a few months, maybe because of the pandemic, nothing has happened. And finally, like a month ago, the board uh, had a suggestion how to reorganize our newspaper in a way which is for us who works for the media was or seemed nonsense from the first point, and it was nonsense for economical point of view as well. Well, this plan was to split the staff of Index to little sub companies and spread those companies around. And so Index would have been only just one little company with a few journalists who are ordering different media materials from these little companies. This wouldn't spare any money, so there's no sense to implement such a plan for economical reason. The only and have this would be a plan that basically undermine the way how journalists work, because a newspaper work like I have an editor. This editor comes to me and says, well, this is the topic, be quick and, do some material on that. Instead of that, the editor would call my company I work, he ask a media material, and then he would call someone else, for example, a pro-government media, and would ask, well, I have this topic, would you go and do this? Oh, this guy is much cheaper. So I ordered the media material, article or video from a pro-government journalist because he's cheaper, for example. So this plan had only one reason: to distract our community of journalists and to let material outside of our team appear in Index. So this would be the first step to change the course of Index to a pro-government into a pro-government media. This was very clear, and we opposed this plan, and our editor-in-chief opposed this plan. And finally, well, this is a long story, a month. This, went on for a month. But at the end, he was fired last Wednesday, basically. And he had to leave Index. And how it concluded to that point when all of the journalists left Index. We have two principles. One principle is we don't let any interference in our content. So no one can tell me or to one of my journalists that what we should write about and how. And the other principle, we don't let anyone change the stuff of Index without informing us or without discussing with us. So firing Szabolcs Dul, or editor-in-chief, was a breach of this principle. And these principles were not secret. These were written, these were published. We were working under these circumstances. And so this, what has happened, what the board did was a clear breach of these principles and a red line. And then we said we can work, we can continue our work at Index if they don't fire or editor-in-chief. And this, this had been a long and heated negotiation, and this went on for almost a week. And finally, we realized that our board is playing a game, a shady game that we don't know what is it. So one day they said something, for example, oh yeah, I think we will discuss this move to uh, to employ Szabolcs Dul again. And like after 10 minutes, a communique or a press release was released that the Szabolcs Dul was fired. So we saw that they are not clear and they are not open with us, and they are playing another game. We didn't know what was this game, but it was clear that they are playing with us, and they won't uh, keep their words. So when it was clear, then the staff is just said, okay, we are leaving Index, although we don't have any other place to go, but we are in an independent newspaper, and we cannot imagine to work any other way than that was described previously.
Yeah, and as you said, both these discussions were going on for a long time, and also before that, you and your colleagues at Index had other attempts to emphasize that independence of Index is at question right now, at risk right now. So what is happening for the past 2 weeks was, I'm guessing, no way surprise for you guys and for your colleagues, because you also at Index you also changed the barometer from independent to in danger in June, and you released a statement about that also. I want to ask about why in first place you and your colleagues felt the need to have such a barometer, because it was established a year ago, back in 2018, even if I'm right. And why did you feel the need to set up such a barometer, and then why its status was changed to in danger recently?
Yeah, well, the barometer was formed uh, because we felt that this business construction we had to work in is uh, is not a safe one. Actually, it was created to have control over Index. Although there were no like immediate signs that any danger is coming in the near future. So we saw that Index has a long story. It's an online daily for 20 years now. It was always very successful. But it's, you know, it's not only a newspaper, it's also uh, a business for certain people. So it was sold, it was resold, it went from one person to the other. Meanwhile, Hungary was changed to an authoritarian country when business was not uh, really free anymore. So people bought things and sold like big businesses, not only for based on economical or rational uh, yeah, principles. And Index was bought by an oligarch who was attacked by the government of Viktor Orban. And although he was one of the wealthiest men in Hungary, from basically one day to another, he sold everything. He owned Index, he sold Index as well, but he didn't want to lose control. So basically, he split up his company, his media company, into two companies. One was Index, and basically it's a foundation. So it's a safe uh, environment. So we had a safe environment, but we didn't have but we have only our task was to produce media content. We couldn't do any business. There was another company which was mentioned previously, and this company sold our advertisement and gave us money. And we felt that if that other company that is basically independent from us, but gives us all the money we are using for work and we are using for our salaries and everything. So in this way, we are really closely attached, and this business model is a possible danger, and we can be controlled not by force, but by economical forces or economical ways through this company. And when we realized what's the situation, we said, okay, we would like to continue our work as journalists and do independent journalism, but we feel that this situation is not stable. It wouldn't be acceptable in any democratic country. But, you know, in Hungary, this was the only way we could continue to work. So then we create this barometer to show that we are aware of this danger, and we are willing to uh, alert the audience in case we are attacked. And this what has happened now.
Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban denies that the government tries to silence any critical voice in the country, and Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó said his government was facing untrue accusations with respect to threats to media freedom. He said at a press conference, how would the state intervene in the decisions of a media which is privately owned, he told. But you actually gave us a bit more insight into how this might be happening and how government might have control over even over the media, even if it's privately owned. This is not a certainly new phenomenon in Hungary. I wonder your opinion on that too, because about 6 years ago, what happened to Origo, or another news site in Hungary? I guess there are some parallels. Well, how do you comment on that? I wonder.
Yeah, well, for anyone who doesn't really familiar, or for anyone who don't familiar with the Hungarian media scene and politics, just an example why we cannot believe in that what was told by our prime minister or even the foreign affairs minister. I mentioned the media person of Viktor Orban. His name is Miklos Vasily. He became the, one of the owner suddenly of that company that sells our advertisement. So the media person who deals with all the media businesses and media cases of the government appeared at that company that gives us the money to operate. So in case he says, and this is what he said, sorry guys, we cannot sell enough advertisement, so you don't have enough money. So you have to fire a couple of journalists. This had happened like 2 months ago. We don't have any choice than to cope with this situation because that's another company. We cannot see their papers. We don't know if what they said is true or not. So we are controlled by this person. And what this person had done so far, he was the boss of Origo, the biggest Hungarian online media like 5 years ago. And uh, after he appeared on the top of this media publication, the editor-in-chief was fired, the staff had left, and this newspaper now is a pro-government propaganda piece, the nastiest one. This was a very serious political newspaper. This used to be a serious political newspaper with investigative pieces, and now it is a media that spread fake news, nasty things about opposition politicians. This person, Miklos Vasili, appeared uh, at the public broadcast media of Hungary, and then this media became like a propaganda of Fidesz. No opposition politicians invited to their program. So last year or a year, yeah, maybe yeah, last year, couple of opposition politicians tried to break into the building to have their voice heard, and they were captured by the guards. They were beaten up and they were thrown out of the building. And this was under the control of this guy who's at the company that controls Index now, and he had several other media publications he controlled, and he turned into propaganda pieces. So his task is to turn every media publication to a propaganda media for Fidesz. So I don't feel that I have to say anything more about the words of Viktor Orban. So this is a clear game what's going on.
So we are seeing a sort of repetition of what has happened to Origo 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. But at Index, you also had some readers who were willing to support you and your journalistic practices, and the support for Index, or actually, let me put it this way: even some people said that even if they don't really like Index, they wanted to support the independence of the news outlet. So they were out on the streets, but some of them were your readers who followed and who paid for some content or contributed and followed fiercely. Last weekend in the capital city, Budapest, they went on the streets, organized a demonstration, and thousands of people marched for media freedom in the country. How did this support make you feel? So do you think that this might not be as the same as what happened to Origo or previously? So there's something, some change, some hope maybe, and also I know that you and your colleagues are planning on continuing your journalistic practices, but on a different platform. So I would love to hear from you about that as well. How you guys are planning to continue.
Yeah, well, it was. I don't want to be too emotional, so I won't tell too much words about this demonstration. But all of us were really shocked and surprised that we saw so much support from people of Hungary. So we didn't expect, we are just journalists. We did our job, so we never thought that someone would like 10 or 15,000 people gathered only to support us. So it was a wonderful feeling. Uh, and this gives us hope that independent journalism has a place in Hungary, but we are still in the company of Index, because even if we want to leave, we have to stay a certain amount of time at the company because of the law. So it doesn't look like that we said we want to leave the company and the next day we are out of that. Some of us, depending on the contract, have to work like another 30 days, some of us 60 days. Meanwhile, a new staff is recruited. So this is a very difficult time. We don't do any serious work anymore. We just republish the Hungarian news agency articles. So our index doesn't the good old index doesn't really uh, or cannot be seen anymore. So these are just republished news what you can see if you click on the website. And of course, we all have plans and have serious plans, and we would like to use the people support for this plan. But at this point, because of legal issues, I cannot say anything else.
Oh, okay. Then we will wait and see.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you so much. Thank you so much for sparing time and joining me for this discussion.
Yeah, I'm happy I could talk, and I hope we can get back to this topic, and I will have the chance to say something about the happy end.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
thank you so much for watching us. Stay tuned for more high quality content from Medyascope.